Good day to viewers, the Colonel speaking to you live from the Preceptory of British Imperial YouTube Broadcasting, and this is the Replacement 3 video from the Gramophonic Murder Mystery. This was a collaboration between members of the former forum, which was mysteriously removed from the internet. The paedophile society, as we know, gramophones and pedos, they offered the former forum hosts £35 expenses, which, following legal advice, seems to be contrary to the Bribery Act 2010. They'll hear more of that in future, amongst their other things they did, including harassing my mother to death. Well, that was Keith, Tim, Howard and Frank. Anyway, we're going to do part 3. Now, what I think I did, I've got all the original posts from the former forum now, which will be amalgamated with my present forum soon, as soon as the technical people can do it. And I've just printed out all the posts for the Gramophonic Murder Mystery. And it's a bit complex. I think what I did was I actually typed them up as a script, which I've subsequently lost. So I'm going to read the original posts as they were for part 3. So here we go, finishing from part 2, we're with in Columbo, as he's known. And here we go. Looks like I'm going to be busy here, exclaimed Columbo. Gee, my wife asked me how long this would take, and I told her I'd be back in an hour at the latest. I'm not doing the accent, viewers. You see, my wife panics if I'm not home when I say I'm gonna be. She'll have to glue her beehive by herself today, and it's a kind of strange thing, working with your hands in a mirror reflection. Have you ever tried that? Who on earth wrote this rubbish? Oh, it was Steve. Anyway, that's all very interesting, Lieutenant, but when are we going to be safe with all this murder and mayhem? Inquired Martha, the housekeeper. I'm really scared. OK, miss, right now, who can tell me where the Decker number 2 came from? We think it was the supply of woodworm which destroyed the 192. But can anyone recall if Sir Jabez had any known enemies apart from the gramophone salesman himself? Oh, I didn't realise you knew about all that business, exclaimed Eliza. I suppose you also know about the exchange rate he gave my husband. $3 to the pound and no arguments, a £15 charge for handling my husband's money. It's a scandal, Lieutenant. I remember where he got that inspiration from now. Yes, I did my own investigation, ma'am, and it seems your husband might have been cheated out of a lot of money over the years. Did your husband ever receive the lino flooring he paid for? Eliza's face turned from white to red. Yes, he did, and it was well worn, and it had holes in it. Yes, I see it. OK, I think I'm done here for now. Oh, and one more thing. Try and stay away from these phonographs for a while, if you see what I mean. It's getting quite dangerous in here. Phonographs? What does he mean? Said Graham. I think he's referring to gramophones, darling, reassured Eliza. I'll go on to the next one. This really is a puzzling case, the Lieutenant said to the assembled family, almost as puzzling as the man who laughed himself to death listening to a Billy Williams record, something that hasn't happened for over 80 years. Who solved that one? Exclaimed Lady Long Eliza. Why, miss, the Lieutenant said, that there critter was solved by the legendary Professor Oxbridge man, late of eBay. Who was he and how did he solve it? They cried. Well, the inspector said he was a handsome, talented aristocrat and Oxbridge don who amused himself, how true, solving gramophonic crime. He realised that only Professor Moriarty could have added extra humorous comments and laughter to the Billy Williams record that proved fatal to anyone listening to it. What happened to them both? Cried the family. They were last seen fighting over a Mint 202 on the edge of John's Leap near the waterfall, but were never seen again. But the howl of the terrier was heard nearby, and the Mint 202 hasn't been seen since, although a photo taken in Hendon by Professor Oxbridge has been seen. It's too but it's too foggy to make a positive identification. I shouldn't laugh at my own joke, should I? The Lieutenant went back to examine the body of Howder. Has anyone noticed the lighter colour on one of his or her fingers? Asked the Lieutenant. It's gone, cried Lady Long Eliza. What? Cried the Lieutenant. The gramophone ring. It's a family heirloom, decorated with the G&T angel, the parlophone pound sign and the EMG man. Whoever holds the gramophone ring controls the destiny of the gramophone world. What's the history of the ring? Asked the lieutenant. Its origins are mysterious, believed to have been created in the 1960s in the fires of the Broadway volcano, Fish Hill, by the leading dealer of the time, who still rests there awaiting the time when a 203 sells for 30 quid, said Lady Eliza. So he's due to wake soon, Reg said hopefully. Anyone who wields the ring can destroy any opposition in the gramophone world, apart from Professor Oxbridge Man, said Lady Eliza. At that point a clap of thunder and a crash resounded through the hot corridors of Opal. And we'll go on to the next bit, which is, oh yes, by the Stoat. Merciful heavens, cried the Dowager Duchess. What was that sound? The entire company rushed to the ballroom, only to find Alexis Triona, whoever she might be, posed by the charred and smoking ruins of what had previously been an EMG gramophone. The solution is immediately obvious, he intoned. It's a he, is it? The gramophone cabinets had previously been saturated with naphtha, whatever that is, and nitroglycerin introduced into the sound box. In addition, the fibre needle container had been filled with white phosphorus. The remains of a puzzle plate record can be seen on the turntable. 3 of the selections would cause no reaction, but when the Grizzly Bear rag was played, the vibrations would cause an explosive conflagration. The papier-mâché horn only fed the flames. You mean, said the Duchess, that someone has transformed our gramophone into an infernal machine? That's a good one, actually. And on to the next one by the dear chap. Yes, but the deep bumping in the dead of night, thought to be the ghost, turned out to be Gladstone, the head butler. He was trying out some under-the-counter mood music records, and the gramophone had disliked them so much that the springs let him know their dissatisfaction. Now back to the smouldering EMG. Would the insurance company pay up, dear chap? Was it a Davy or a Ginn machine? That's bloody important, that is. Would the springs be re-greased in the table model? Would Gladstone be reprimanded for playing such filthy music after dark? Who knows? Would the wealthy Alexis be prepared to step down a bit and pay 10 quid for a cascade? Who knows? This is quite good, isn't it? Anyway, I shouldn't be... How unprofessional. Would Rafe, would Johnny, would Larry, dear Larry, do this sort of thing? I don't think they would. Columbo sat with his head in his hands. How am I supposed to wrap all this up neatly in 1 hour, he mused. This isn't just a difficult case, this is impossible. I wonder if the TV networks can negotiate us a bit more on-the-air time. My programmes, not spelt M-E, are usually easier than this. The children sat down as Lady Eliza summarised everything. There were now 2 dead bodies, although the infernal EMG had reduced one of them to ash. The other was laid out on the kitchen table as the 192 was straightened and casters reapplied. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk to each of you and get a statement about what you were doing last night when the first suspected murder took place. Reg kept his eyes fixed on the HMV 130 grill cloth. Had the lieutenant spotted the clever recycling of his rain Mac? Would he cast a suspicious eye now as a result? The telephone blurted out. Do telephones do that? From the Great Hall, Ken answered it. The TV network was calling, and yes, it would be okay to give the lieutenant more time. They only had reruns of EastEnders planned to be shown all night long anyway, so hopefully no one would complain too much. Columbo seemed grateful and picked up his RCA Victor lighter on the kitchen table, lit another cigar. Now, Triona, where were you last night? On to the next bit. Triona fixed the lieutenant with a meaningful stare. First, you answer a question for me. What is this TV network you keep mentioning? I realise I had a bit of shell shock in the trenches with the Bosch, but shell shock? Trenches? Bosch? Just what was this last war you were in? Why the Great War? Have there been any since? So the year is... The lieutenant grinned. You got me there, ma'am. 1925 indeed. You wait till I tell my wife that. 1925, ha-ha. Triona was not amused. And by the way, Lieutenant, if you really are a lieutenant, what right do you have to come here dressed like a poor beggar, bossing my family around? Who are you really? The chiming of the Westminster clock in the hallway drew Columbo's attention to something else. His watch made the time 11:46, but the clock struck 3:30. Excuse me, ma'am, but Have you got the correct time? My wife bought me this watch. I'm not sure if it keeps stopping or not. It's a real old watch and she bought it from an antique dealer. You know how it is. I sure do. I haven't got the heart to tell her it isn't working. It's 3:30 exactly, assured. Triona assured the lieutenant. Did the dealer also sell gramophones? I believe so, ma'am, and they were in such great shape too. They were. Anyway, last night I went out swimming with 2 friends. You can check my alibi with them. The lieutenant paused and asked Triona what day it is today. Well, Thursday, obviously. Why do you ask? The lieutenant laughed and continued. Well, I know it's Monday, but since we appear to be operating in different time zones or something, I thought I'd just check. The hallway clock stopped. They both examined the hall clock. It had indeed stopped, though no one could recall it ever having run. In fact, no one could recall ever seeing a clock in that spot before. Triona moved to open the case. Stop! Cried a curly-haired man with a long scarf and prominent teeth. That's the Master's TARDIS. Let me go on to the next bit. This was written by me, obviously. Professor Oxbridgeman sat musing in his armchair in his rooms in 222 Mrs. Bunn, the Baker Street. What's on? Why? The papers relating to the notorious Hopeless Proudy case spread on the Oak 203 before him. Do you think this 203 is a fake? He asked his faithful companion on adventures, the Squire. Surely not, old chap. You bought it from a reputable dealer who assured you it was unique, and as you were a friend, he would do it at a special price, replied the Squire. But the strange thing is, the reputable dealer was in a hurry, as he had taken a call at 2 a.m. from the President of the Gold Coast, and had to send him a 103 immediately. Professor Oxbridgeman turned again to the papers relating to the case. This has puzzled the greatest minds, Lieutenant Colombo and even Jessica Fletcher. But as they were Yanks, how could they understand not only our historic class system, but also our irony? Replied the Squire. True indeed, replied the Professor, but we must find the gramophone ring. That is the key to the matter. Just as the leg fell off the Oak 203, revealing a secret passageway going deep into the earth. At last, said the Professor, the game's a leg. Squire, fetch your Mauser, we may need it, and don't forget the can of Rent-O-Kill Woodworm Killer. You can't be too careful. Shall I bring the Fordson? said the Squire. No, replied the Professor, we may need to make a quick and silent getaway, and the spud wheels may alert our foes to our escape. They descended into the secret passageway and walked for miles, eventually coming into a cellar. Where are we, Professor? Asked the Squire. We're in a lost world, a place of dinosaurs and half men, half monkeys, replied the Professor. You don't mean a Gramophone Society meeting? Asked the Squire. Alas, so we're amongst our enemies, said the Professor, and a phonograph ready to play. Badly, said the Squire. I wonder when you spot that one, Wilson. I mean, Squire. I hear footsteps. We must hide until the lecture on record labels versus matrix numbers, part 398, has started, and whilst the members are asleep or dead, we can escape up through the tattered lino into the shop above and on to the way to Watford, said the Professor. Just then they heard the droning voice of the lecturer and the heavy footsteps of the zombie-like members. Quick, hide behind this stack of Edison Bell winner discographies. Now, where do we go from here? Yeah, we can do a couple more. And indeed, it was the TARDIS that Colombo and the family had stumbled upon. The place where so many gramophone dealers and collectors could huddle together in a very tight space without any of them giving a clue to each other which items they were secretly bidding on in the Warwick zone. Colombo thought for a moment. Get me those old videos of Doctor Who I've seen for sale on eBay. I want to know how this thing works. Maybe we can go back in time just before the 102 fell or the EMG burnt. Is Professor Oxbridgeman still selling those tapes on eBay? Cried Eliza. I thought he'd been jailed for fibre needle fraud. Very funny. I believe so. His needles were supposed to be everlasting, but they split into fragments on the first record they played. Well, it wasn't a fair trial. It was a Clara Butt record. Quite. And that takes us on to part 4. Bit of a mishmash, as I say. I think I typed up the rest of them. But we've got lots more to come, because we're not just going to do the Gramophonic Murder Mystery. There's also a Gramophonic Murder Mystery number 3 and number 2, it seems, not in order. And we've also got the all-new Gramophonic Murder Mystery. And then we go on to, oh, Ye History of the Gramophone World. Yeah, that's a good one. Copyright owned by Old Boghouse Productions, Hereford. Yeah. Well, I'll read you a first bit of that. A bit of a taste, a bit like the old Winds of Winter. Soon to be read on YouTube, it says here, and that was written in, where's the date? Oh, January 2011. 5 years, dear oh dear, 5 years ago. So here we go, part 1. During the demolition of an old outside bog in a leafy village in Somersetshire, some builders discovered an ancient manuscript shoved over the door to keep the drafts out. Here is what they found. Ye History of Ye Gramophone Kingdom, by Scratchy Disc, Ye Illuminati. In ye olden days existed a kingdom of gramophones ruled by a small elite from above an inn. This was called ye City of Londinium Phonographica and Phonographica Serpents. Ye Gramophone Guild, they called themselves, were an exclusive group, and they're up near Baylor Sept, I think, were much loath to let in any outsiders or book learners, as they were led by ye Bayleaf. One summer's day, a young serpent, who appeared to be from ye West Country, but was from an inn in Londinium, knocked upon ye door of ye inn, editor's note, with what? And demanded admittance. After rolling one trouser leg up, editor's note, how does a serpent wear trousers? Good question. And swearing on ye sacred biscuit crumbs of Bailey, never to reveal ye true secrets of ye guild, he was let in, and after ye rigorous test, he was admitted as ye apprentice to ye guild of ye Gramophone. Soon the serpent began selling ye old gramophones and widely advertising them to ye known world. He saw that there existed a respectable gramophone shop in Hamptony, owned by ye lesser spotted koala, who returned from Terra Australis Incognita, and thus he slithered to set up in ye competition with ye koala, who worrieth not, and welcomed ye serpent, and said they could share customers. Ye serpent is that, yes, 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 I am of ye guild, and need not thy peasants, and I shalt find mine own. Yes, 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 blah. And that is the foretaste of the winds of, I mean the history of the gramophone world. Well, there you go, viewers. Hopefully you enjoyed that. More to come. Lots more of this rubbish. Yes, it is fragile. Thank you, viewers, and goodbye.